Happy birthday, babe.
What are you talking about? My birthday's a month from now.
Well, I know, but I can't hide this present.
What do you mean, can't hide it?
It's too big.
What the fuck?
Hey kid, yeah, you. Everyone thinks toys are fun, but this is a channel for adults. Yeah, I said it. This is a channel for adults. If you're under the age of 18, go get your parents before you come in here. If you're under the age of 13, scram.
No, you're not seeing things. I actually got a MOTU Origins Eternia playset as a birthday gift from my wife. Hey guys, Jim from the future here. I want to be very clear before we go any further what this video is and what it is not. The main part of this video, the main thing I want to show you is my real-time reactions of how it felt for something this profound for me to arrive. I know that sounds pretentious, but there's only a few things in a collector's life that really shake you to the core, and for me, this was one of those moments. If you want to hear that story, please keep watching. If you are looking for a complete unboxing and assembly or a review, this is not the video for you. You will see me open the box. You will see my first reaction to initially touching, you know, the inner boxes and seeing MOTU and stuff like that, but it's very brief. This is a story about the procurement of this playset and what it means to me in my collection and my life. If that appeals, let's roll. All credit goes to her. We discussed it at length earlier in the year when they first started to ship out to people that had actually got in on the crowdfund. Her point, which I agreed with after we talked about it, was we're dedicating a gigantic space in the house we're going to eventually buy to the toy collection. She felt that as MOTU focused as the collection is, we'd be foolish not to have this in the collection. I was on the fence because at this point, because we weren't able to get the crowdfund at the time, the price would be even higher, and that was a big contention point for me. The more we discussed it, the more we agreed that prices are only going to go up, and the availability from reputable sellers is going to diminish. So the thought was, let's get in on this, find the right price, find the right outlet for this, and let's just make it happen, because we had the opportunity. It was something we needed to do. Before I get into that part of the process, let me backtrack a little bit for those of you that may not know about this playset, where it came from, and what my feelings were on it when it was announced. In the third quarter of 2022, Mattel was talking about this MOTU Origins playset they planned to release through Mattel Creations. Upon further investigation and prodding, they revealed it would be a crowdfund. They released the dates. There was a little over a month for you to get your orders in. When I first heard about it and they first listed it and they revealed the price, I was really dubious because it was already an extremely expensive playset for, in my opinion, what it was. Very difficult to justify. But as the crowdfund continued to go on and I saw it was definitely going to get funded, I really stopped and said, I want this. I really want one of these. And I tried everything I could to finagle the money up front for the crowdfund because it was something I did not want to let slip away. But because of the time of year it was, you know, at the time I was the only income in my household. There wasn't a way for me to do it short of taking out a personal loan or borrowing money from someone, which didn't feel right. So I resigned myself to, like, you're not going to get this. And for the next year and a half, most of that time was spent, it got away. It sucks. But then when it ships, and you see people getting it, all the feelings of regret washed over me, and it's like, really should have done something different. A really weird kind of coincidence here is that my wife and I met only a few weeks after the crowdfund had closed. This was something that was fresh in my mind as she got to understand my love of toy collecting and so forth. You know, it was something that came up once in a while. We talk about it. So it was always in the back of her mind too. And when she saw me watching all these videos of Eternia's coming out, she knew this was something that was important. At the same time, we were already kind of looking, all right, we're going to be in a position to buy a home later this year, hopefully. And with the idea of it closing by end of the year, early next year kind of a thing, depending upon how the market plays out. And we agreed that a 2-car garage size space where a very large kind of game room area is going to be required for the house that we're in, because we want these toys to be displayed properly. As we're having all these conversations, you know, one night I said, you know, they're out there. There are Eternias out there, but I really have a hard time justifying aftermarket price for these. And her immediate response was, do you think the price is going to go down? And I looked at all the various listings of what had already been sold, what was available, and certainly cross-referencing that with the sellers that I was seeing out there and their reputation and so forth. And I said, I don't think these prices are going to get any lower. And as I said before, it's not just about the price, it's about the availability at that price from people that have a reputation and really want to give you a good experience. You know, if you're going to charge me an extra, you know, 20-30% on something, I want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth. After discussing it, and she said, look, this is going to be a birthday present. Find the right price. I trust you. Let's just do it. And I went ahead and I started looking, and eBay, right away, I was out. I looked at all the eBay sellers. There's some pretty good sellers on there, even now, that are selling it. But for some reason, it just didn't feel right. And I looked to see if there were any toy shops, like mom and pop toy shops, that maybe had them. And looking and looking and looking, I found a shop called Titan Toys in Canada. It never occurred to me that that might be the best place. Their price was not quite the lowest I had seen, but they're on shop.app, which I've had amazing experiences with. It's very streamlined. I researched their shop pretty heavily on Google and Reddit and a few other places to see what kind of customer interactions they'd had, and the reviews are mostly really positive. And it's clear that this is a passion project for these people. It's not a full-time thing. They're, of course, making money as they go. I think they're growing this shop into something really special. And if you're in Canada or the US, I strongly recommend you check out their shop. There will be a link in the description below. All throughout the process, they were very communicative. They didn't pester me, but when I pestered them, they would reply back. And once they finally were able to say, hey, we're getting our wave in within a couple weeks, you know, they wanted to make sure, here is the address right? You know, is you know, this still where you want it to be sent? Made sure things were right. And they even went to the point of when they got it, they opened it, checked to make sure everything was okay, closed it back up, and sent it off. Now, when it finally shipped, it was marked as, you know, they had a tracking ID on it as of this, you know, as of the recording of this Sunday. I expected it would take at least a week or two before it got to me, because even, you know, it's international, it's DHL, you don't know if they're going to hit with customs, so I was worried about that. To rewind a little bit, on their site they had a price that they were wanting, and I said, this is probably the best price I could find at the time, combined with a seller that I think I can trust. They just happened to have a promo code for free shipping at the time, and shipping was a pretty high price, but still really reasonable for what it was. But I got to pick whatever kind of shipping I wanted. I picked the express shipping through DHL, and I got it for free, which was a huge thing. And because I was buying it from outside of their country, no taxes. So I paid their price, no taxes, and no shipping. So right away, that was huge. Fast forward, they send it off, and I see the tracking number. To my surprise, it got picked up. Tuesday they picked it up, because Tuesday they pick it up, it goes to their shipping hub in Canada. It flew into Dallas and was out for delivery by 11 a.m. Wednesday the next day. So it sat, the tracking number, they got notified Monday, they pick it up Tuesday, it's in Dallas Wednesday, and was out for delivery by a third-party courier on Wednesday. But it did arrive today. As you're about to see, Lauren went down to the mailbox. I offered to go and help. She says, no, I'll get it. I told her how big it was and how much it weighed. She's like, nope, I got it. Sure enough, she went down, grabbed it, brought it in. And as you can see, this is a massive box. And at first, I thought that the outer box that they had put on it, which is clearly an outer box, was just much bulkier, and that the inner box was a bit not as deep. That's not the case at all. Big fucking ups to Titan's Toys for shipping that in an outer box. That's fucking awesome. What they had done is put reinforcements around the shipper box Mattel sent it in, and then built a box around that, taping it up really well and labeling it nondescriptly, which was very much appreciated by me, and it arrived unscathed. The box, as you're about to see, is pristine. I cannot thank them enough for that due diligence. If I'd have bought this off of eBay or for some random schmuck, they would not have repackaged it. They would have slapped a shipping label on a shipper box and called it good. And with my luck, I would have had a forklift fork hole in it or something. Again, Titan Toys really came through. Arguably, I'm better off than if I'd ordered it from Mattel. That's neither here nor there, because a lot of people know the first wave that went out in America, there were gouges in boxes, there were ripped boxes. A friend of mine, Joey Ricondo, had ordered two, one to keep, one to sell, one of which just got mauled in shipping. My heart sank for him, and I'm like, fuck. And this is already after I'd already ordered mine. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be horrible. But as it turns out, Canada got theirs a few weeks after the US, and for whatever reason, I didn't hear anything about any of theirs getting busted up. And of course, it arrived here safely, and I could not be happier. As you can see, we're at this point not keeping Eternia in this room for multiple reasons, not the least of which is that there just isn't the usable space right now. Once we get some of these displays the way we want, I might keep it in here in the box, but that's not necessarily going to happen because the box is, no joke, this deep. And even with this room being what it is, that would put it out further than the stuff that's on the floor right now and would make it hard to navigate in here. I never say never. I'm not certain what we're going to do with it yet for now, but let me show you this pristine box and my first reactions to actually seeing this thing in the cardboard flesh, so to speak. Holy crap, look at that.
You did good.
Absolutely flawless box. Oh. The way that light hits that. Wow. That is beautiful.
Oh my gosh, look at all those stickers.
Those are going to be a problem. So I'm going to scan these soon. So if we run into a problem on the decals later, we're going to be okay. Oh. Yeah, let go. Holy hell. I've always seen this. This has got all your track and the hooks and weapons in it. This is Gray Skull Tower. Viper Tower. Tram. MOTU. Spacer box. Another spacer box, I actually like that. This is nuts. I am over the moon. You know, when this arrived earlier in the day, I was in shock. Lauren wasn't sure if I was unhappy or what, but I could not believe this. Even though this is a newer version of the toy, this is one of those MOTU grails that you hear about, right? And vintage playsets now are even going for above 4, 5, 7, 8,000 I've seen sometimes. And as overpriced as the Origins crowdfund was, relative to the vintage cost and seeing this thing in person, I loathe to say this, but I think it was worth it. At least for me. To the folks that got damaged boxes and so forth, Mattel had better step up and fix that problem. You know, if the toy arrives okay, that's one thing, but, you know, for something like this is not a box you throw away. You know, at least for most people, I think. The poster is a huge plus, and I think there's plenty of collectors out there, I'm sure they're out there, that will keep the poster and burn the box. You know, they'll set it up, get rid of the box, keep the poster. And I understand that. If you don't have the space to keep it, I totally get it. I respect it, totally understand. But I would think that if you're the kind of collector that would buy this in the first place, whether through the crowdfund or on the aftermarket, for the amount that it is, like, that's a piece of cardboard you keep around, right? So if you know, yours got damaged, I hope Mattel made it right, and tell me in the comments what happened, because that really broke my heart, the few of them that I saw. I've only seen about 5 or 6 like that, out of the how many, you know, hundreds / thousands that went out. I have my issues still with the crowdfund. I definitely have my issues with the way some people got them. I am still grateful that this exists. I'm grateful that I have one. I'm grateful to Titan Toys. I'm eternally grateful to my beloved wife, Lauren, without whom I would not have this. Because if it were just me, I would not have been able to justify this. We went on a money-saving plan. We cut out a lot of the more expensive food that we eat. We cut out DoorDash almost 100%. Cut down on beer consumption. So it was like this combination, like, okay, we've spent this money. How do we make up for it? So it was, we just lower our food costs, lower our entertainment cost, which also wasn't coinciding with the fact we want to get more healthy anyway. And I have been losing weight. I feel great. She is feeling good as well. So it all worked out to be catalysts for a lot of joy in our lives. And I know that I'm rambling. I realize that it's just a goddamn toy, but it's a ginormous toy. Something that I never would have gotten as a kid. Like, there's no way this would have happened, price or not, because at the time it was pretty expensive too. But this is at the end of the MOTU life cycle. I wouldn't really have been interested at the time, but now having this as a centerpiece with everything else, and I can see the display in my head, you know, having Eternia in the center with Grayskull and Snake Mountain on either side, and having a floating invisible shelf with the Crystal Castle up there. Never mind the other playsets we're going to be getting, hopefully, somewhat soon. Serpent's Lair and the Fright Zone and all kinds of other stuff. Like, it really, Lauren understood, and it continues to understand that, like, I can get all these other things that they're going to put out, but to have that big of a hole in the collection would have really hurt. The odd figure variant here and there, I don't give a shit about that. I really don't. But when it comes to something this big and this kind of core and central to the mythos of the toy line, it was something that it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You know, that phrase gets thrown around quite a bit in life, but as a collector in middle age, this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And I plan to enjoy this and the joy it brings me, and I will share it with others until my last days, man. Like, this is something that the things that I can compare it to materialistically, right? Like, for example, I have a daughter. Nothing can compare to having a kid, man. That's awesome. And The day she was born will always be the number one. Always. When you look at things that are material to you, like those moments that like have something else to it. Getting my first drum, the drum kit that I have now, the one that went on tour all over the States and outside of the States and recorded those albums and did those shows. You know, that's a prized possession that, again, was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Because I can't remember a time before or since I was really in a position to get that thing. And it brought me such a great time and career and friends and, you know, chosen family that I can't replace just because I'm, you know, playing some hypercans. You know, this is up there with that. As ridiculous as it might sound to some of you, there's a lot of people that are cynical out there. They're gonna be like, ugh, it's just a fucking piece of plastic. And it is, but it's a cool piece of plastic that means a lot to me. It's the same as getting that Hall of Justice to me, in a sense. You know, the Hall of Justice is by far my most prized toy because it has the closest tie to my parents. The MOTU Origins collection that I've built is designed around not just rekindling some of that, but then going beyond what my parents could and would have done. And just seeing this universe for everything that it could be. And just having fun with it. Because you don't have these big play sets and vehicles for Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe Classifieds or really any of the other modern lines. There's very few of them that kind of go in that direction. And many of the best ones that have done that are no longer around, Final Faction being a fairly good example. So this is just kind of, you know, wish fulfillment at its best. And I'm so grateful, and I am so happy to welcome the MOTU Origins Eternia into my collection. And I will tell you that the aftermarket prices are pretty bad. But if you can find a seller that you trust, or you think is worth trusting, at a price you think is reasonable, go after it. It was worth the stress and the headache, because nothing quite like it, man. But either way, may all your card backs be straight, may all your grinds be merry, and may you be able to find anything you're looking for at any given time at a price that you feel is reasonable. Especially if it's Eternia. Take care, guys. Cheers. Extra special thanks to all of our Patreon and YouTube members. The support really helps, and you get to be a part of the live show every week.